Don't you ever talk about my mom. Don't you ever talk about my mom.
Dad,
I want to get in the middle.
Like whatever you want to call it.
Let's smack the out of you right now. Don't you ever talk about my mom.
Yeah,
Never talk about
yeah. What's good?
MMA is undoubtedly one of the most physically and mentally demanding sports in the world. Fighters need to be extremely dedicated and mentally strong in order to succeed at the highest level. No fighter wants to let an opponent get in the way of their success, and because of this, they can get very emotional during the events leading up to a fight. Unfortunately, some fighters let these emotions get the better of them, and this can cause them to lose control. I'm Joe MMA 195, and today we'll be looking at 5 times that MMA fighters lost control. Number 5, the Jon Jones vs. Daniel Cormier brawl.
This is my life and I'm willing to die to beat you. Because as I've said many times, you don't deserve this. I will die to beat you on April 23rd.
Alright. Be prepared to do that.
Jones and Cormier had one of the most heated feuds in MMA history. Before their first fight was announced, the two already had a bit of a rivalry and had been going back and forth on Twitter for some time. But after their fight was announced, their rivalry took a turn for the worst during a media event where Jones and Cormier got into a brawl. The brawl was started during their very first stare down, when Jones aggressively placed his forehead against Cormier's, to which Cormier responded by shoving Jones. A fight then ensued as Jones shoved UFC executive Dave Schuler to the ground while trying to get to Cormier. The brawl was quickly broken up, but as the fighters were being pulled away by security, Cormier attempted to get one last shot at Jones as Cormier pulled off his shoe and threw it across the room. However, the shoe ended up missing Jones and hitting one of the media people in the crowd. Number 4, the Conor McGregor vs. Nate Diaz bottle throwing incident.
Shut your mouth, you'll do nothing. You'll do nothing. Not one of you'll do nothing. Get the out of here!
Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor undoubtedly had one of the most entertaining rivalries of all time. The trash-talking exchanges during the build-up to their first fight at UFC 196 were hilarious, and the two seemed like they were made to fight each other.
So he put a frame out in front of him and I quickly snatched it and broke his wrist.
You got a scared little cheesy shot on my hand because scared I'm gonna put you to sleep with your gi on.
Your whole suit, my socks were worth more than your whole suit you had on, you little bum. You broke.
During the press conference for their rematch at UFC 202, there wasn't much trash talking going on between McGregor and Diaz. However, midway through the press conference, Nate decided to walk off the stage as his team, who happened to be sitting in the audience, gathered around and began shouting at McGregor. This then escalated when Nate decided to throw a bottle at McGregor, to which McGregor responded by grabbing soda cans and throwing them at Diaz and his team.
It will be a trilogy fight down the line. It won't be straight away, but we will do it 3 times, 100%. Your whole team, how about that? Your whole team. Shut your mouth, you'll do nothing. You'll do nothing. Not one of you'll do nothing. Get the out of here. You. That's alright. Hey.
McGregor and Diaz were eventually escorted away, and both ended up being fined for this incident. Number 3, Julian Lane's meltdown on The Ultimate Fighter. Season 16 of The Ultimate Fighter is regarded by many people as being one of the worst seasons in the show's history. There wasn't many talented fighters in this season, and most of the fights were extremely boring. However, the one saving grace of this season that made it a bit entertaining was the house drama, as a fighter named Julian Lane had frequent violent outbursts throughout the season.
Because I'll beat somebody's ass in this house, and I'll get sent home.
Well, that's a bad decision.
Play, dog, right now.
His most infamous outburst happened after he got drunk and attempted to start a brawl with another fighter. When his friends held him back to prevent him from fighting, he began to throw a tantrum as he uttered a phrase that would go down in infamy.
Let me bang, man. I want to do that, man. Let me bang, bro. I do let you bang. Hey. Let me bang again, man. I'll let you bang. I'll let you bang. Let me bang. Let you bang.
Number 2. Cody Garbrandt vs. TJ Dillashaw on The Ultimate Fighter.
You guys are let's grab right now.
Cody Garbrandt has one of the shortest tempers in MMA history and is no stranger to violent outbursts. His worst outbursts occurred during season 25 of The Ultimate Fighter, where he would compete as a coach against his former training partner TJ Dillashaw. Their feud stemmed from the fact that Dillashaw abandoned Team Alpha Male to train with his close friend and coach Dwayne Ludwig. Garbrandt and all of Team Alpha Male felt that Dillashaw had betrayed the team that brought him into MMA. What further upset Garbrandt is the fact that he had previously defended Dillashaw years back when Conor McGregor accused him of being disloyal to his team.
You sit and talk about TJ without saying something, cuz. Boy.
What, you gonna do something about it? What you gonna do?
I'll do something about it.
Well, do something then. Do something then, you. Do something then, you. Do something. Where? You little twerp. You'll do nothing, you little twerp, yeah? You'll do You'll do sweet full golf.
Take care of your underwears. I'm gonna you, man.
Throughout season 25 of The Ultimate Fighter, Garbrandt and Dillashaw would argue frequently, and the arguments often escalated into violent outbursts from Garbrandt, as he couldn't keep his cool around Dillashaw.
I was paid to be out there with Dwayne. And you asked and you sell out.
Number 1. The Conor McGregor vs. Khabib Nurmagomedov feud. McGregor and Khabib undoubtedly had the most out-of-control rivalry in UFC history. Their whole feud began in New York, when Khabib and his team decided to confront McGregor's close friend and training partner, Artem Lobov, for bad-mouthing him in an interview.
Вот. И все равно Конор принял этот бой, даже не моргнул глазом. И вышел и победил. В то время, когда Хабиб снимался уже 6 раз. Он снимается, у него там чуть-чуть заболело, у него там задница или еще где-то, он снимается. Вес не может даже сделать.
Khabib and his team proceeded to surround Lobov and demand an apology for what he said. Lobov, now being face-to-face with Khabib, denied ever bad-mouthing him, which resulted in Khabib slapping Lobov in the face. When McGregor caught wind of what had happened, he and his teammates decided to fly out to New York and get some payback. On April 5th of 2018, McGregor and his team showed up at the Barclays Center in New York, where multiple fighters including Khabib had just gotten done promoting the upcoming UFC event. As the fighters were leaving on a bus, McGregor and his team showed up and proceeded to attack the bus, banging on the windows and throwing anything they could find. McGregor ended up smashing the bus window with a steel dolly, hurting multiple fighters on the bus and causing them to have to pull out of the upcoming event. McGregor was then fined and arrested for this incident, but was bailed out soon after. Later that year, McGregor would go on to fight Khabib at UFC 229 in a one-sided beating that McGregor ultimately lost. Khabib would then proceed to jump over the cage as he and his teammates would start a brawl with McGregor and his team as an act of revenge for the bus incident. The brawl was eventually broken up and everyone involved was escorted out of the arena. However, to this day, this undoubtedly remains as being the most out-of-control feud in the history of MMA.
My foot was a balloon. My foot was a balloon. You want to see it?